Okay, one thing you might want to be familiar with here is which quadrants are our trig functions positive and negative in. One way to remember that is all the trig functions are positive in the first quadrant. Sine is positive in the second, but cosine and tangent are negative. Similarly, tangent is positive in the third, cosine is positive in the fourth. How do I remember this? I remember this by thinking, let's get rid of these. I remember this by thinking all students take calculus. It's just the way I remember it. But anyways, that's what you need to remember. Now let's do an example of evaluating the sine of 5 pi over 6. So the first thing is let's convert this to degrees. I think it's easier to work in degrees. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, in radians where it is. But if I do it in degrees, we just replace pi with 180. 6 goes into 18 3 times, or with 6 goes into 0, 4. 6 goes into 180 30. 30 times 5 is 150. So this is equivalent to figuring out the sine of 150 degrees. So where is 150 degrees? This is if that is 150 degrees, and draw a line here, and then come straight down to the x-axis to make a little triangle. Right? So the question is, what is the angle that goes right here? Well, we know that a straight line is 180 degrees. So the question is, what number plus 150 is 180? Well, the answer is 30, because 30 plus 150 is 180. Now this is back to an earlier video. This is our 30, 60, 90 triangle. Opposite 30 is 1, a hypotenuse is 2, and the other side, the remaining side, is the square root of 3. Now, you could remember this. Sine is positive in the second quadrant, but so therefore this answer is going to be positive. But I don't like to remember all this. Just think of it this way. This is the negative side of the x-axis, right? These are negative x values. Over here, positive x values. So we can think of that root 3 as being negative, because it's on the negative side of the x-axis. Above the x-axis, those are positive y values, so this is positive. That's a positive 1. The hypotenuse we always consider positive. Now, if we think of it that way, what is the sine of 150? Well, this is our reference angle. We refer to this angle to evaluate the sine of 150. And sine is opposite over hypotenuse. We get 1 over 2. But let's say we wanted to evaluate the cosine of 150, or the cosine of 5 pi over 6. Well, cosine, this is our reference triangle for 150. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. We get negative root 3 over 2. Yeah? What about tangent of 150? Well, tangent is opposite over adjacent. We get 1 over minus root 3, which is the same as negative 1 over root 3. Now, most instructors, teachers like the denominator to be rationalized. To rationalize this, just multiply by root 3 over root 3. So we get minus root 3 over 3. So if you want your answer with the rationalized denominator, this answer would be minus root 3 over 3. But thinking of it this way, it just helps knowing when you get positive and negative answers. You don't have to worry about this over here to figure out your answers. So in the next video, we'll do a couple more examples of the same idea, evaluating trig functions in different quadrants.